Welcome back, everybody, to my YouTube channel where we're going to look at some of the mainstream media news and hopefully provide a bit of a warning to you as to what's going on. Because unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there who think things are just going to maybe get bad for a little while and they get better, like recessions in the past. The writing is on the wall that the enemies of humanity have told us their plan is the Great Reset. And if you don't believe me, all you need to do is go out to the World Economic Forum. This is their official webpage right here. They tell you what the plan is on this webpage. They're not hiding it. They're putting it out there for everyone to see. That's one of the things that they do. They do announce what they're going to do. And this Great Reset that they're aiming for is coming. And just looking at Fox News briefly, what do we have? Let's take a quick look. Here we have President Biden threatening the oil companies with quote unquote emergency powers if they don't boost supply as inflation spikes. How does that solve this problem of inflation? They've told the oil companies you can't drill, you can't expand. But now they turn around and they say, if you don't, then we're going to come down on you with emergency powers. It's all a cover game. Do you not see that? It's just a cover game for the end game, which is the Great Reset. Let's flip on down here. We have liberal district attorneys all over the place being called too lenient. That's merely cover as well because the laws are in place. These liberal DAs are only doing what the law allows them to do anyway. And look in the state of Maryland. We just recently had a sheriff's deputy get killed in Wacomico County by a fleeing felon who was wanted in Baltimore City for felony arrest warrants, who had been arrested multiple times on felonies, but yet was out on the street running because the liberal policies that liberal lawmakers and the legislatures have put in place protect the criminals. Again and again, we see it. But they seek to shift the focus away from the liberal legislatures and say, well, it's these liberal DA's fault. Well, the liberal DA is merely doing what the law lets them do. Do you see how the two interact? So you shift the blame away from one party who's guilty onto another party who can easily be absolved and removed from office, and then no one thinks about the bigger picture. Here we have the father of a slain San Francisco 6-year-old torches ousted far left DA. How long has that been happening in San Francisco? I mean, they literally have people living on the streets and pooping in the streets, and the streets are unsanitary, but yet they're going to blame a liberal DA for it, when in reality it's the legislature, the city council, who's allowed this to go on. It's the classic switch and bait technique. Switch and bait technique, and that's all that's happening here. What else do we have? Here we have the Supreme Court that's been under attack. I mean, did you even know that there was a far left liberal activist arrested outside Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh's house in possession of a firearm and other, what shall we say, accoutrements, showing that he was willing to break into this house, subdue the family, and kill the judge, at least, if not his entire family, because he disagreed with this verdict? But we don't see this being reported. Switch and bait. Now we have the DOJ, completely corrupt, filing charges, federal hate crime charges against this Buffalo mass shooting suspect. Where were the federal hate crime charges against the riots in 2020? non-existent, switching bait. This promotes the narrative. The rest of it doesn't. So it gets pigeonholed. Go back and read George Orwell's 1984. When he's sitting at his desk and he gets a news report and he rewrites it to meet the narrative, and then he throws it into the memory hole where it's burned and completely gone. That's what we're seeing today. 1984 wasn't a work of fiction, it was a blueprint for what is happening before us. And a lot of us need to go back and reread that to remember exactly what's going on. Here we have now the UN warns Ukraine invasion could cause worldwide food shortages. That's, okay, yeah, the Ukraine is sort of the breadbasket of Europe and North Africa, but what's going on here in the United States, where our own government is paying farmers not to plant crops, where they refuse to deal with the rising cost of fertilizer, of chicken feed, of cow feed, where they're threatening farmers with EPA sanctions for cow farts and burps. None of that's mentioned. It's all put on the back of Russia, a scapegoat. A scapegoat. Let's see, what else do we have here that we can cover real quickly. Now, the Department of Homeland Security is going to punish the Border Patrol agents accused in quote-unquote whipping incident, even though the entire investigation showed that they did not use the horse's reins to whip these illegal immigrants. Did not do it. It was merely them controlling the horse. It was the perspective of the camera that caused this outrage immediately. But now that the investigation has gone on, they've been cleared of all wrongdoing, but yet they're still going to be punished. Folks, the entire media, even Fox News, is just flat out lying to you about much of what's going on in the world today. The problem with it all is most of you can't see through the lies. Let's jump over to CNN. What are their headlines today? Well, now we have stocks move higher ahead of Fed decision. So what they're expecting is the Federal Reserve, a completely illegal and falsified entity, is going to raise interest rates by 0.75%, which is going to affect you and me, but not necessarily the bigger corporations. So the stocks are now moving up. It's all a carefully orchestrated plan to cover what is coming. Cover what is coming. Everything is riding on the Fed. We no longer have a free economy. We no longer have capitalism. We really have a socialistic economy that is governed by one single entity, the Fed. But yet we're told we're capitalist. And that lie just continues to carry through day by day. Even Bitcoin has been crashing. And if you follow Bitcoin, and I'm not going to proclaim myself any kind of an expert on Bitcoin, but it's just another fiat currency. It's been crashing. And depending on who you listen to, if you listen to the Bitcoin aficionados, they're telling you, oh, this is just normal. It goes up and down, up and down. It can only do that for so long before it completely bottoms out. When you have Bitcoin exchanges closing their doors and not allowing the exchange of Bitcoin, there's a problem. There's a problem there. Bitcoin is not some independent monetary format. It's the same thing as the US dollar. The more that gets printed, the less it's worth. But yet, those who love Bitcoin because it's been touted as an alternative to the US dollar can't give that up. And in reality, one economist that I saw on Twitter had the most pertinent advice anyone could give you today. Don't buy gold, don't buy silver, don't buy Bitcoin, buy cans of tuna because you can eat it and you can trade it. When the dollar collapses, when Bitcoin is gone, you can still eat or trade your cans of tuna. And that's where we're at right now. We're coming into that period because our leaders hate us. Our leaders despise freedom. They won't allow it to exist, including Bitcoin. They will collapse it. They will corrupt it. They will take control of it. And that's where we're at. Oh, what else do we have? Let's see. Of course, you have your idiot entertainment news, bread and circuses. The whole Johnny Depp, Amber Heard trial, bread and circus, just carries on. We've got this January 6th hearing by Congress where we're in the midst of massive inflation, gas prices over $5 a gallon. People can't find baby formula for their kids, but Congress is going to hold hearings on January 6th and ignore all of January 2020's riots and disturbances and arsons and murders. But they'll talk about January 6th. In fact, there are still people being held without charges. Our government, folks, is just corrupt. And if you think your vote is going to change that, I hate to break it to you, but it's not. There's only one thing that's going to change any of this. And that is when we, the people, repent and turn back to God. Because He lays out what's right and what's wrong. He lays out how the government should function morally and ethically, but we've chosen to ignore it. We've chosen to thumb our noses at God and think we can do it all for ourselves. I mean, we could go on and on and on looking at these news headlines, whether it's Fox, whether it's CNN, it matters not. You're being lied to. Period. On multiple levels. You know, here is now we've got the Congressional Joint Economic Committee revealing the abortion's impact on the economy. What about its moral impact on the people? When we think we can just kill our kids out of convenience, what's the impact of that? Then we have this one which piqued my interest today, a North Korean defector. I am terrified of the massive indoctrination coming from the left in public schools. I would agree. But why do we need a North Korean defector to tell us that? It should be obvious on the very face of it. But yet, again and again and again, I see people not wanting to deal with the issue. In my own local community, the parents were alarmed at the end of school when the teachers in the school system sent home all these rainbow colored flags and festoon things, and they were like, "What are you promoting with this?" And they're mocked by many, but their voices should be heard, should they not? Now, frankly, to me, get your kids out of the public schools. Get them out. The public school system is corrupt to the core. And if you're a teacher in that system who's trying to do good, well, all I can say is kudos to you, but you need to get out as well. Because the system itself is corrupt. And you can't be salt and light in a corrupt system. We need to reset ourselves on a biblical standard, a biblical example. On and on we could go looking at all these things through here, and I'm not going to dwell on these. What I wanted you to see was most of what you're being given to, whether it's Fox, whether it's CNN, whether it's MSNBC, it's all lies. You better be prepared for the Great Reset, which is being promoted by the World Economic Forum right here. Go to their website and read it for yourself. It's not a conspiracy theory. They have a plan, they've announced it, and they're implementing it. And you can see the implementation of it both on Fox News and CNN and MSNBC and whatever other news source you want to go to. And it's reaching from national, international levels, all the way down to the local level. And if you're not aware of it, then it's on you. Because guess what? There's only two paths. The path of life and the path of death. Which one are you going to choose? In the book of Joshua, Joshua confronted the Israelites and said, "Choose you this day whom you will serve." That choice is before you. You may think you're taking some kind of middle road. You may think that you're straddling the fence, but you're not. You're serving one side or the other, and you better make sure you're on the right side because God is going to win. Wake up, people. That's all I have to say today.